Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Angela, and in this video I am breaking down the ATITs for you. So I just recently took the ATITs. It's been about a week and I wanted to wait a little bit to fully grasp how I felt and to take notes on what I think worked, what I think didn't work, and everything. So I have all my notes compiled for you guys, and I'm just going to keep it real with everyone. And I forgot to film this before, but I will be filming another video where I break down the books that I used for the teas. I used about 6 books, and I break them down and I tell you what books you should use, what books you shouldn't use, which ones are most helpful, which ones aren't helpful, which ones prepare you the most, and I really just break it down. So if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to check that video out, I should have it posted within the next week, so just keep an eye out. Just a little disclaimer, I just want to let you guys know that every test is different. Not everyone takes the same test, so the things I say about my specific tests are going to be different than, you know, another person's test. So I could be seeing things on my test that someone else didn't see. And then there's probably a lot of things that people saw on their test that I didn't get on my test. So I'm just giving you guys my personal experience so that, you know, I can be as helpful as possible. Before I got into the video, I wanted to apologize for not posting a lot lately. I've been getting a lot of comments about where I've been, why I haven't been posting. If you haven't watched my previous video, I have a previous video of me talking about how I was studying for the ATITs when I first started studying. I'll put that link in the bio, but I just wanted to say I'm really sorry that I haven't been more helpful. I have a lot of stuff going on and I got really stressed, and I just recently moved. But I just wanted to explain that to you guys before I got into the video, so just in case you were wondering what was going on. But getting into the video, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I started studying for the T's so I just took it in August, and I started studying in May. So May, June, July, August. So I studied for about 4 months. Personally, I do not think you have to study that long. I studied about an hour to 2 hours almost every day. I would take, 2 days off, so I would study 1 to 2 hours 5 days a week. I think at a certain point I realized, like, I'm not gonna know any more than what I know. And I kind of had to come to terms with that because I was taking practice tests and I was still getting stuff wrong. And I was like, I've been doing this for 4 months and I'm still getting stuff wrong. Like, I'm gonna do so bad and all this stuff. So I definitely don't think you need that amount of time. It's great if you have the time, but I would say max 3 months. If you're really dedicated to it, I would say 2 months should be fine, as long as you're doing like an hour a day for at least 5 days a week. Especially if you have a decent amount of background already in all the subjects. The big subject that a lot of people don't have background in or need background in is the science section. I already had a decent amount of knowledge on that, so it wasn't as big of a deal for me to study, but there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know or that my class didn't cover, so it really did help. Going into it, I know you guys are curious as to what I got on my TEAS test. So I got a 88% on my TEAS test, which is the 97th percentile. I was going for 95th percentile, so I actually did better in that sense, but I was also going for a 90, which I got below. So I got 2 points below what the score I wanted, and then 2 points above the percentile I wanted. So I think overall it pretty much worked out for me. I was really nervous after I got done taking the test. So I just want to explain the beginning process, or like what it's like to actually like go in there and getting ready to take the test. So I had a really bad experience, but like I said, this is just my experience. If you're watching this past, I took the ATITs when COVID was going on. And so I had to wear a mask. There were strict protocols, just like a lot of like tedious stuff that wouldn't have been a thing if I took it at a different time. So basically, I got lost on my way there, which is my fault, like not on them or anything. And then I got there and the parking lot was about 10 minutes from where my actual testing building was. And it was like 97 the day I took the test. So I walked 10 minutes just to get to the building. And then they didn't let anyone inside till you were actually like physically taking the test. So I had to stand outside, and I got up there, and then the guy was like, "We're gonna need you to put your cell phone back in your car." And I was like, why? Because they told us that we would have lockers. And so I just figured I could bring my phone or whatever and then just keep it in the locker. And they were like, no electronics are allowed in the building at all. So then I had to walk 10 minutes back to my car and then 10 minutes back to the building. And by this point, I'm like dying, sweating. You have to wear your mask. And so I have like sweat dripping everywhere. I have my mask on. It's just like a really big mess. And then I get back up there and it's not time to take the test yet. And so then I had to stand outside for like 10 more minutes, wearing my mask, sweating already, all of this other stuff. So then they finally let us inside. And for 30 minutes, they're just going over like COVID protocol, like not even testing protocol, just like COVID protocol. If you take off your mask, we're allowed to like let you like make you leave, like all of this other stuff. So then I finally got to the room, and then they didn't say anything about this before. I finally get into the room and they're like, you're allowed to make noise in this room basically, so it's not like a quiet room. And I'm like, what? Like, I get distracted so easily. And they were like, we offer like headphones or like whatever they're called to black out the noise if you want that. Or, and I was like, okay. So I took them, but like that would have been nice to know beforehand. I don't know if every facility is like that. So when I say like, this is just my personal experience, this is literally just my personal experience. Like, don't go in thinking that like yours is going to be that way. Anyways, so then I finally start taking the test and into what it was actually like. So you start with the reading section, then you go to the math section, then the science, then the English. So I started with the reading section and it was a breeze. It was so easy. A lot of the questions, like practice tests I did were, you know, you'd have to read these like really long passages, like at least like 5 paragraphs, and then you'd have 2 questions on them, and then you'd have another long one for just like 2 more questions. So it took like a lot of time to do each question because you had to read each passage, all this other stuff. While my test was not like that at all. My longest passage was like maybe 2 paragraphs, and so like I finished that section so early, which was amazing because I had time to go back and look at the questions that I got wrong. So the reading section was really easy. A lot of the questions were mostly literally just basic questions about like what was in the text. So it would be like, it would give like a passage on like a couple steps, and then it would be like, what did Brian have to do before he baked the cookies? And then you would have to say the step he did exactly before he made the cookies. And so it was a lot of questions like that. I also had a decent amount of questions, like inferencing questions. So where it was like, which of these statements would the author like most agree with? Some of them were like kind of hard because I would get it down to like 2 answers and then they were both like kind of true. I don't want to like state any of the specific questions because I don't want to get in trouble or anything, but there was this one question and it was like one of my longer paragraphs and I was like, this is like kind of a stupid question. I was like, why is this question on here? So I don't know. Just as long as you do practice tests and you get used to reading and like answering questions from the passage, you'll do just fine on the reading section. It's really not that big of a deal. A question I actually struggled with, which was weird because I actually did really good with in the practice questions, was there was some questions where it was like, it gave a sentence and then it was like, which part of this sentence is in the wrong place? And then the sentence they gave me like flowed perfectly. Like I could see how, it was a good sentence and that nothing needed to be taken out. And then they were like, which part of the sentence is in the wrong place? And I was like, I don't know, like this sounds fine to me. So that was definitely interesting. But so I also wanted to tell you, like, break it down for you guys, like what I got on each section. So on the reading section, I got an 89.4%, so almost a 90, and that is in the 91st percentile. So that was pretty good. I didn't get below an 80 in any of the sections. So that's good because I was really nervous that in the English section I would get like, I want to get higher than like the 70s. And so that made me feel really good. So moving on to math, for me specifically, math was like the easiest section ever. It was like such a lifesaver. I know a lot of people like struggle with math, but I've always been a person where math was always my favorite subject. I never really struggled with it. And so it was just easy for me to begin with. So I was never really nervous about the math section, but I did some practice tests where some of the math questions were a little bit harder or they like took a lot of time. So I was kind of nervous if I would run out of time. Math section by far was the easiest section. I only got one question wrong and I already knew that I got it wrong, like right when I saw my score, and it was like, oh, you got like one question wrong on the math section. I was like, I didn't know how to do it. But just so you guys know, the question was, it was like, Tim has coins in a jar. He has quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies. And then it was like, he has 5 times as many quarters as nickels, 6 times as many nickels than pennies. And then it just like went on like that. And then it was like, knowing all of this, how many more quarters are there than pennies? And I was like, I know you guys might think I'm stupid, but I was like, I have no idea what to do with that question. Personally, I had no practice test that had a type of question like that. So that just shows you, no matter how hard you study, like there's gonna be questions that you haven't seen. So just don't stress yourself out. If you're studying and, you get to the point where you're like, I really don't feel like I'm going to know anymore, then just like trust your gut. So for that section, I got a 96.9, which is the 99th percentile. So that was really, really good. And that probably like saved my score so much. That was the only one that I got a 90 in. The other ones were, like, reading was really close to a 90, but the other ones were like lower 80s. And so I felt really proud of that. But I was just going through the questions and I was like, oh my God, like, I got so lucky. So at that point I was like, the reading part was so easy, the math part was so easy, and then I knew the science was coming up next. So I was like, yo, I got this. Like, this is so easy so far. If the math questions were like that, the science questions are gonna be so good. We'll get to that in a minute. But I want to give you guys some examples of like math questions that I got. So I got a decent amount, which is so funny because they're so easy, where it would give you like, I forget what it's called, but 2 equations and you had to like multiply them through and then figure out like what the end equation is. I got like 3 of those, and honestly those are so easy. So make sure you guys study those, because I got one where it was like, if Bridget lives 10 miles from work and she's driving 55 miles per hour, how long does it take her to get to work from home? Or it was like something like that. I had like 2 like solve for X's. What I really liked about the math section was it didn't try to trick you or anything. It was straightforward algebra. Like, it was what they said was going to be on there. And so I really liked that about the math section. What kind of made me upset is I spent so much time memorizing area and volume of all the different shapes there could possibly be, and then conversions. I only had 1 conversion question, and it was like one of the easier ones. It was like grams to kilograms, where you literally just like multiply by 1,000. And so I was like, oh my God, I literally took so much time to memorize all of those conversions, because if you guys look in any book, there's so many conversions that they give you. And I was like, and I only got 1 question on it. And then I memorized, like I said, all the area and volume equations for all of the shapes. And I only got 1 question on that, and it was on like a square. It was like perimeter of a square. And I'm not complaining, but like, I put in so much effort trying to memorize that stuff, and then it was like, it wasn't even on there. So, but no big deal. So, you know, like, it's going to be different for everyone, but for the more difficult ones, like, I don't know, like a rhombus or like 3D shapes, I wouldn't worry about, just because it seems like the math section, at least for me, was pretty basic. So if you only have like, I don't know, like 2 weeks to study for the T's, don't waste your time, and don't waste your time with conversions. Just know like the basic ones. So like grams to kilograms, liters to milliliters, you know, the basic ones where most likely you just have to multiply or divide by 1,000. Moving on to the science section. So at this point, I was feeling really, really good. Now, another thing they didn't tell me, which kind of gave me a bad experience as well, is they told me when I signed up for the test that I would get like 2 10-minute breaks, or like at least 1 10-minute break. And I didn't get any at all. I don't know if like I was supposed to ask for one, but like it wasn't that big of a deal. But I thought I would like be able to like get up and like walk around or something. And I forgot to mention, obviously it's COVID, so I had to wear my mask the whole time, and they were really strict. They were like, we don't even want to see you touching it or anything. So they were really, really strict. So at this point, I had, for 4 hours, I had a mask and like headphones on. So I'm like fully hooked up. So I got to the science section, and I get like headaches, and I think they're oxygen related. So at this point, I was wearing my mask for about like at least an hour and 40 minutes. And so like my head started hurting, but I was like, it's okay. Like this is going so smoothly and everything. But then I started the science section and oh my goodness, it was so hard. Like, at least in my experience, I'm pretty good with anatomy, pretty good with biology. My struggle point is chemistry. But I felt really good on all the other ones. And so I was like, you know, I'm gonna do as best as I can or whatever. Literally, the science questions were so, I don't even know like a nice word to say, like stupid. Like the anatomy questions were just worded so weird, and it's like the questions were like so irrelevant. I was like, why are you even asking us this? Like, shouldn't you be asking us more like in-depth, important questions? And they're just like asking us like little like questions that, you know, I don't know, that I don't feel like showed our knowledge enough. And then every book that I read, studied from, was like, you know, you need to know some chemistry, but you really don't need to know chemistry. And I was like, okay, like that's great. It was like, there's gonna be like, you know, a couple questions on chemistry, and I was like, okay. So I like studied like a decent amount on chemistry, but I had just recently taken chemistry, so I was like, you know, it can't be that bad or whatever. I literally got like 5 questions on chemistry. And I was like, what the heck? And biology is my strong point. Like biology was my major. And, you know, I had taken it in high school, and then I took it in college, and I was like feeling so good about biology. I knew all about mitosis, meiosis, because every book that I got stressed, you know, meiosis, mitosis, binary fission, photosynthesis, all that stuff. I didn't get any questions on any of that. I got like 1 or 2 biology questions, and they weren't even about like processes or whatever. It was, one of them was about, it was like, which organelle is most important in photosynthesis? And obviously it's ribosomes. And then I forget what the other one was. But yeah, it wasn't, there was like no biology. And then the chemistry questions were so annoying. So one of the questions was about the periodic table, but they didn't give us a periodic table. And I'm like, I'm not a chemistry major. Like, why am I gonna have the periodic table memorized, especially for like one question on the TEAS test? So I got that question. It was literally like, what's the atomic number of argon, or like something like that, where you would like, you know, you don't have that memorized and you would like have to look. Another one was like, it gave like 4 different elements, and it was like, which one has the lowest atomic radius? And I learned in my chemistry class how to do that using a periodic table. So it was like, the farther you go down in a group or whatever, the larger the atomic radius gets. And so like I would have had to like find all 4 of them and then figure out which one is the lowest. And so, oh my gosh, at this point I was so done. And my headaches started getting worse. And when I get headaches, I start feeling sick. And so I was just like, oh my God, this is a mess. And like, I wasn't getting breaks. So I would like, literally couldn't even like go to the bathroom and like take my mask off in like the bathroom stall or something like that. There was another chemistry question. This was literally in none of my books. It was like how to calculate pH from the number of H+ ions they give you. So it was like, if there's 9 H+ ions, what's the pH? and you have to use a formula like negative log H plus. But I was like, this is literally in none of my books. That's like the last thing I learned in chemistry. So that was just so annoying. And then the last chemistry question I got was, if you have a pH of 4 and a pH of 9, how many times larger is the pH of 9? And it's not like how many times larger is 9 than 4, because as you go up, like 1 pH, it increases by like 10 or like something like that. I don't remember. At that point, I was just like, none of my books said any of this. I don't know any of this. So I was just like, and when I got my test results back, it shows you, like, it breaks it down to like what percent you got in each section. So it was like chemistry or something, and I got like a 75 in the chemistry questions, and I was like, that sounds about right. But then the anatomy section, I got like an 85, and I was like, how? Because the questions were worded so weird. I just started picking ones that I thought, could be true or whatever. And I guess they just happened to be right. There weren't really any easy questions. They were either like ones that made you think, or ones you just like didn't know. You didn't even understand what it was asking for. So I don't know really what to say. Just like study your little heart out. If you know everything, I guess there's nothing you can get wrong unless you don't understand what they're asking. What made me most upset about that section is that's what I spent the most time on, because I knew it was so important, and that's the section I did worse on. So in the anatomy, not just anatomy, in the science section, I got an 80.9, which is the 93rd percentile, which is still really high. So like everyone struggles with the science section, but I wanted at least like an 85 or something. Like that score doesn't fully show what I know. Like I literally know. I at least feel like I know. I got an A in anatomy, so and then finally the English section. Now English, which might sound stupid, is like the hardest section for me. Every practice test I got, I didn't get above an 80. All this other stuff, it was so hard on me. And you only have like 28 questions or something like that, or like 24. And so if you get 2 wrong and your score is like already super low. And so I really struggled with that section. I thought I did terrible. I was like, there's no way I got above a 70 in the English section. Well, I ended up getting an 83.3, which is the 90th percentile, which is my worst out of all of them. It's probably what brought my score down, but it's okay. I'm just really not that good at English. I got a little annoyed with this section as well, because I spent so much time memorizing prefixes and suffixes and like what they meant and how they changed words to mean something else. And I only had like 2 questions on prefixes and suffixes, and they were like prefixes and suffixes that I had never seen. I had a lot of questions on, it was like, it would give a word and then it would underline like either the prefix and suffix, and it was like, what does the prefix in this sentence mean for this word? I found the English section a little difficult because it would give a question like the one I just said, and the choices they gave were either really similar or like the correct answer was like, is that right? Like it wasn't fully right, or at least it didn't fully sound right. And so one of them was like, what does the suffix full mean in this sentence? And full means like you're full of something, or like that's literally what all my books said. Well, that wasn't even an option in the choices. So that was, it was rough. There weren't really, which was also annoying, many, what's the noun in this sentence? What's the adverb in this sentence? What's the adjective in this sentence? But like all my books stressed like that stuff was going to be on there. So I got like really comfortable doing it, and then that wasn't really on there. The only kind of type of one I got like that was like, it would give a sentence and it was like, wow, you did really great on this test. And then it was like, what type of whatever is wow? And then it's like an interjection, which I knew. Because I studied so much on those, but I got none where it like gave me a sentence and it was like identify the verb or the adverb in that sentence. There was a decent amount of one. It would give like 4 sentences and then it would be like which one is grammatically correct. And a lot of them, at least for me, seemed grammatically correct. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know which one. So I kind of just had to like keep looking at them and going over them. And so like that section took me the longest out of all the sections, which is funny because I was just overthinking so much. And then I got a decent amount of questions where it was like, which sentence uses the correct language? And then it would be like the same sentence, but some of the words were like affect or effect, and you would have to choose whether affect or effect in that sentence was correct. And there was a lot of like definition questions. There really, any of my books didn't really stress definitions. They more stressed like prefixes and suffixes. And I at least got like 3 sentences where it was like, it gave a sentence and it underlined like a difficult word, and it was like, what's the definition of that word? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, and then the definitions would like sometimes not make sense. I'm like, this is just not working out for me. So I ended the test not feeling that great. You don't get, at least I didn't get your test results right away. I got a piece of paper that said that I would get my test results within 48 hours. And so I tried not to think about it or whatever. I was kind of in a bad mood, and because I just felt so terrible about it. I was like, I probably only got like an 80 or whatever, and so I was just feeling really down. And then I ended up getting my results after a day. But yeah, I'm sorry this video is long. I just really wanted to break down each section for you guys. If you're interested in more videos like this, I was thinking about doing videos where I actually like break down all 4 sections and like explain what you need to know, what you don't need to know, stuff like that. If you guys are interested in videos like that, just let me know. I'm going to try to post more now that I'm done the tease, I'm done freaking out, and you know, I got this. But yeah, let me know any questions you have. If anything I said was confusing. I tried to memorize as many questions as I was taking the test as I could, just because I knew I was gonna make a video like this for you guys. If I, you know, remember any more, I'll like say so in the comments or something. So if how I phrased anything kind of like was confusing to you guys, I'm not always the best at explaining things. And so if you guys need me to re-explain anything, just let me know in the comments. But yeah, this is really nice. And thank you for all the people that were supporting me when I wasn't posting and I was studying. You guys honestly make this like so much fun. And we help each other. So like, I'm gonna help you and then you're gonna go and help someone else. And so I just really want this to be like a kind environment, and you guys just have been making it so awesome lately. So thanks just for respecting my space and just letting me study, because I did get to a point where I was like really nervous and freaking out, and it just really stressed me out. So just thank you guys. If you're about to take the test, just breathe and don't, after you're done taking your test, if you don't get your test results right away, don't like freak out or underestimate yourself, because then you're just like causing yourself undue. Make sure to subscribe and like this video, and comment below, like I said, any questions that you have, and just to encourage others. You guys got this. I know you're nervous. I was nervous. Just go in and give it all your might and study as much as you can. And make sure to comment down below like how you guys did. I had a lot of people comment on my last video like, oh, I'm taking it in August too, or I'm taking it in like September or something like that. So definitely let me know how you guys do. Like, I'm seriously curious as to, how well you did. Did you get your goal score? Because, it only matters what you, like, how you feel about your score. And if you have any more helpful advice, if you had already taken the test, leave some comments down below for other people, because like I said, every test is different. So definitely feel free to comment down below if you had a different experience, or if you got those questions that I didn't get.